Hello everybody, this is Gizmo Jam and welcome to my first YouTube video on the channel. Now what I'm going to be doing today is a Twitter header tutorial just like this one, like the one you see right here, and the steps I show you in this video can also be applied for something like a YouTube banner or anything of the sort, maybe a Twitch header, anything. And I like this one. I chose this one to do for my first video because I think it's really clean and aesthetic and anyone can make it. When you watch this tutorial you'll believe how easy this is to make. So let's just get right on with it. So the first thing you want to do is just create your file, and if it's a Twitter header, which is what we're doing, you want it to be 3000 by 1000, just like so. Or if you're doing a YouTube banner, you can do 2560 by 1440. Well, the actual banner itself is 423 in height. So if you just want to make the long part, but for the full part you have to do 1440. But anyway, we're doing a Twitter header, so we're making it these dimensions. Make sure it's RGB if you're using Photoshop, and 8-bit, just like this. So here we go, we've created the file, and I'm going to first of all show you how to create the background. Now the background is kind of like the swirly one you see here. You can use anything in the background, so like mountains or anything, you know, just anything you want in the background. But I'm going to show you how to make this kind of swirly kind of paint marbling effect, because that's the one I've used in the example. So set your background to just a colour, so we're working on the blue colour scheme, so make it something like that. And hit Alt plus backspace to fill in the background. On a new layer, you want to grab your paintbrush, make it pretty small, like this, and 100% hardness. So you want it to be, you know, quite small compared to the document. And then just basically randomly spiral it around in the colour black to start off with. So just go to the black and just kind of do this, just randomly squiggle it around. And it's going to look messy at first, but once you've used the liquify tool, you'll see that this actually works very well. Okay, so next you want to hop onto your kind of highlight and just paint over the top, and yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing, just like that. Okay, now you want to go for your midtone, so kind of you want to move the hue a little bit and change the brightness and all that, and just go over the top, just like I just did. Then you want to go for a very dark variation of it, so not quite black, but still very dark. And go over the top once more. You may want to add some more black, and also you can change the background actually, so I might change my background layer to a black, because I don't think I have enough black in this. And then you just grab your eraser tool and erase the parts where you don't think there's enough black. Make sure you're on the right layer, obviously. So just kind of erase like this. Don't erase too much, because you still want the right amount. I feel like I lack a bit of highlight, so I'm just going to grab a highlight and fill it in here. Okay, cool. Now you've done that, you want to head up to the top where it says filter, liquify. Now you're in this nice little liquify menu, and then you have your liquify brush here. So you can click Alt, right click and drag to change the size like this. I'm having it something around 400 or 300, and the brush pressure can be on 100 or anything like that. And basically just spiral it like what I'm doing right now. And if you don't like it, you just hit Ctrl Z to reset, and you can try again, and then just basically swirl it around and do whatever you want until you think it looks good. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and yeah, we're almost there. But make sure it's fully spiraled. Make sure you can't really see the actual scribble lines that you've done. So make sure it's properly, like here, what we have in the middle. That's the kind of effect we're going for. It hasn't really worked as well out on the sides, but basically keep working it in like it's paint. Keep working it in until you have the desired effect. So personally, I think this looks really cool. Now you might want to change the background color. You might not want to. You could just paint directly onto it. But anyway, that's pretty good. So you can merge these layers by selecting both and then hit Ctrl E. Now I'm going to do some color corrections on this. So just first of all, go brightness contrast and just adapt these levels until you're happy. Do the same thing with levels. Just change your levels until you're happy with the levels again. So yeah, so when you drag the levels down, it kind of brightens the mid-tones a little bit like that. Next, you want to go for hue slash saturation. So you can maybe play around with the hues like this. I'm going to make it more blue and a bit more saturated blue. And you also might want to increase the lightness a little bit, like that. And vibrance just kind of boosts the colour as well. So vibrance and saturation kind of do similar things but different. And finally, you want to go for colour balance and kind of just fiddle around with these as well. So most of colour correction is just fiddling about with settings like this to get it to your desired effect. So it looks pretty nice. Right, on the layer above, you want to create a gradient with your colour scheme. So make it fade from a, well here we go, we have a set one here. Make it fade from a highlight, so just pick a highlight from your piece and pick a mid-tone. And with the gradient tool, just drag like that. So it's like that at the top and slightly dark at the bottom. Then you want to set it to, I believe it's soft light. And also you want to create a duplicate of this by hitting Ctrl J, drag it beneath it, and drag down, put this on normal because this is the background, and drag down the opacity of this here. And yeah, that looks way cooler in my opinion. If you want to, you can merge these together, but I'm just going to leave these like this. In fact, I'm going to put it in a group, so select them all, hit Ctrl G to make it into a group. So there you go, there's the background done. Now we're going to be creating these lines here, you see, kind of these big white lines. So we're going to grab the pen tool. So the pen tool is going to be pretty much the most important tool in this tutorial. So here we go, here it is. And basically, when you've got the pen tool, you just click where you want your line to start, click where you want it to go to. So in this case, it goes down to about halfway, and then just drag out. So now you've clicked, you're holding down the mouse, and you drag out until it creates a curve looking like that. And then just click around, just trace around the outside of the document to create a selection like that, and then hit Ctrl Enter to create a selection. Now with your gradient tool, you want to go for your typical white to light grey gradient. So just select white as the highlight, and then for this part, just go for slightly darker white, also known as grey. Just like that. I think that looks pretty cool. Then on the layer above, just add layer, right click on it and click create clipping mask. And you're going to want to get the pen tool again, and maybe just a little bit in, just trace the line again, make sure the curvature is same. You can hit Control and drag this point if you want to move it as well. And just go around the outside, click that, Control Enter, and then grab your brush like that and make it black, upsize your brush. So basically what I'm clicking is I'm clicking Alt and then right click so I can resize, and to change the hardness you just go up and down like that. So you want to get something like that and then just trace around the edge like that, and that gives it a really cool 3D kind of effect. So you can keep it like that, or if you want to, you can erase from the top and the bottom, or just the top if you want. But yeah, that looks pretty nice. And then just lower the opacity slightly. So we have our first layer, so you can kind of see, yeah, that's done. Next, you want to go for your kind of black one at the front, and you can do whatever color you want, but I'm kind of doing a black / navy blue because that's the color scheme. So once again, just click here and drag out until you've kind of got the right curvature. Now this might look weird because it doesn't match the curvature of this one, so just hit delete and then try again if you want. So yeah, that looks really cool. And then grab your gradient tool again and just select your gradient. So I kind of want it to go from, yeah, like a navy to a, not a black, let's go for another very dark blue. So okay, very dark blue. Okay, that looks nice. And then as we did with the last layer, create a new layer with a clipping mask and just do the pen tool again. Just trace a line like this, just next to it, create the selection, and then with a black brush you just want to trace the line like that. If you want to brighten this one so you can see the line a bit better, you can. So you can either do hue saturation or just lightness. In this situation, hue saturation does the job. Right, next, so So we're just going to do some more of these shapes. So we're going to do this shape next and this shape. But I'm going to fast forward it just because you already know how to do shapes. Alright, so now that I've completed doing the shapes, I'm ready to add some shadows. So just on any layer below the shape, so for example this one here, you just want to create a new layer below it, and grab your brush with black, and just all you want to do is just trace beneath it like that, and it kind of gives it a more 3D kind of, I don't know, it makes it look better, more realistic. I don't really know, but it just makes it look better, I guess. So just below all these layers, just clicking new layer, which is this button here, and just painting below the layers. And it works really well because it kind of, you know, it makes just it look more professionally made and makes each kind of thing stand out more. So now that we've done all the shapes, you can see we've got the text here, we've also got this bit here. So I'm going to add the text now. So below all these shapes, you want to create a new layer with your text on it, and well, because my name's Gizmo Jam, I'm going to write Gizmo Jam, but you could write whatever you want on it. So because as you can see from the other one, I kind of did a kind of navy one here and a white one here, which creates some contrast and looks really cool in my opinion. So to create this one, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and change the font to whatever you want. I used previously Akira for it, but I haven't got it on this computer, so I am just going to use Aero for this tutorial's sake. In fact, no, I'm gonna look around a little bit through my font library, and if you haven't got any fonts or you want to install some of the fonts I'm using, just head over to thefont.com, and they have plenty of fonts, and they let you know if it's free for, you know, commercial use, personal use, but most of them are generally free, so you are good to use that one. I think this one looks pretty cool. I'll choose a different one though. I think this is the one. Nah, actually, I'm gonna go back for Aero. Really, I should have installed Akira for this tutorial, but anyway. Then you want to head on to blending options and gradient overlay. Select your gradient, so you've already made this one. It's just like a kind of navy. This is the hex code for it if you want to use my colors. To, you know, a slightly lighter navy, like that. So now you've created that, you just want to move it so it's slightly below that, which gives it more depth. Hit Ctrl J to duplicate it, or just create a new one and change it to the second part of your name or whatever. And then all you want to do is just change the gradient color to the one that matches this one. Right. To give it even more depth, we're going to create a drop shadow, change the distance and the angle to what suits yours best, and just slightly increase this. You could set it to color dodge, I believe. No, it's color burn, but that doesn't always look good, so just leave it on multiply for this situation. Alright, and we're just going to move, I'm going to make the jam a bit bigger actually, kind of like that. Right, let's move this across so it's more centered, and same here with the gizmo. And we want to do the same thing, we also want to create a shadow on both so it's even, I guess. Okay, that looks nice. Now it's time to create the kind of YouTube thing here. So it's just a rounded rectangle, pretty much. So on the layer above or below, actually I'm going to do it above. Just grab the shape tool down here, long click on it, and make sure you're on the rounded rectangle tool. Change the radius here to 1000, or just a high number basically, because that gives it the proper rounded rectangle effect. And just drag to create your rectangle like this. Make sure it can fit in all the words that you intend to fit in there. Change the fill to gradient and just select the gradient which you want to use, and drag it to the correct location. Now what you want to do is rasterize it. And then on a new layer, you want to create a clipping mask. You want to make a marquee, kind of like this, so it's a square. And with your gradient tool, you just want to drag like that to make your gradient. Now I'm going to quickly grab a YouTube logo. So YouTube logo. So here's the YouTube logo, and I'm just gonna erase the white bits. So just hold shift while using the magic wand tool to kind of grab the white bits and then hit delete. And you want to create a gradient overlay. Alright, that's perfect. And resize it by hitting Ctrl T. Hold shift while resizing to keep proportions and just drag it into the correct place. And finally, to finish off with the designs, create your text and just write, subscribe, or whatever you want in this box. I mean, it doesn't have to be YouTube, it could be like your Instagram or whatever. And by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you are, because I do post all of my works on my Instagram. You could also follow my Twitter, but that's pretty dead at the moment. That's looking nice. Right now, what we're going to want to do, a little stutter there, is create some color corrections. As you can see, the colors in this one look a bit nicer. You can also use a GFX pack for that, but personally I just like to stick with using a pack. But if you haven't got a pack, just follow my instructions here. So you're going to create a nice big brush like this with a nice bright color, so pretty much as bright as you can get without it just getting to white, and paint in where you feel like you want the light to be coming from. So I think the light will look good coming from this angle. It also maybe look good coming from this angle, whatever. But I'm going to go from this angle because I think it's easiest, considering there's like an empty bit here. And change it to soft light, which gives it a really nice effect. Hit Ctrl J to duplicate, which might make it brighter. And then on a new layer, just make it a lot smaller. And change it to white. And just put in a little dot there and lower the opacity. So that's giving you your highlight. If you think the glow is too intense, you can just remove one like that. And now for your shadows, on a new layer, just switch to black. So you can press X to switch foreground and background color. And you can just paint in like that, kind of like that, and here. I think it looks really cool. You can also change it to overlay, which kind of excludes it from the white. Or you could do both. So you can duplicate it, just hit Ctrl J to duplicate, switch it to normal, and just reduce the opacity on both. So I think the shadows and the highlights like that make it look really cool. So yeah, we're a step closer to finishing. So now for your color corrections, you're gonna hit this button here and hit brightness and contrast, and you basically just want to adjust brightness and contrast until you're happy. Same thing again, click this and go for levels and just do the same thing like we did in the start. Don't want to do that. So just drag around with your levels until you're satisfied. Next, you want to go for exposure. It's kind of doing the same thing, but once you've done all the correct settings, it will look great. And finally, color balance. So you want to drag around with these until you think the colours look the best they can. And select all of these, hit Ctrl G, and then you can see the before and after the colour corrections, and you can reduce the opacity of them. So now we're pretty much done. You can add anything else you want really. So here, the only thing different really we have is the colour corrections, and you can also add any backgrounds you want. So I'm just going to go on to Google and get a picture of some mountains. So if you just search for mountains or mountainscape, just find a picture that you want to use. So this should do. Make sure it's high resolution also, because otherwise it'll just look really blurry. And then you can remove this layer, paste in your new layer, resize it. So it's like that. So yeah, I think that fits really well. And basically reduce the saturation which can look cool in itself, but then on a layer above, create your gradient. And I believe the setting is either overlay or soft light, or it might just be hue or color. Either yes, color, and just change the opacity until you're happy. So there we go. You can use any background you want, anything like that. I'm going to quickly add some. In fact, no, I'm not going to add color corrections. I think I should just leave it like that. But if you want to get kind of more enhanced colors, like they look more rich and all that, and yeah, it just looks nicer generally, I recommend a CC pack. I'm using the Killer pack, which is a free pack, but there are many good packs out there, which you can use for Photoshop. So there we go. Basically, we have finished this tutorial. I thank you very much if you've watched all the way to the end. So yeah, I hope this tutorial helped you, and if it did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because this is my first video, but I will be making more tutorials just like this to help you create and hopefully improve at your graphic design. Make sure to hit the bell if that is your intention, and liking the video will help other people to find this video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in about 1 week's time with the next update. See ya.